We had, I guess the first thing to do is we had a very productive bye week. We did basically our normal Sunday practice. Then practiced on Tuesday and Wednesday, which was more good on good, some developmental periods. And then obviously got a little bit of a head start on Illinois. So we did that on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday, the travel squad had lifting and running. And we've always had a Thursday developmental squad scrimmage, and we kind of amped it up even more so this year. We went into the stadium, had a full scrimmage, had coaches and players mic'd up, did some internal media with them after practice, had a really good experience, which I think the guys enjoyed. So that was something a little bit different than we've done in the past. And then obviously the coaches were on the road Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and got back here, depending on the person, Saturday evening. I went to 2 games on Saturday and got back here Saturday evening. So very productive. And then obviously starting Sunday, we're able to get back into a normal game week, except we don't have the corrections from the previous game. So most of you guys know the routine, but I thought I would go over it briefly. Getting into Illinois, obviously Brett Bielema got a tremendous resume. Has been successful in this conference as a head coach, highly successful. Obviously been a head coach in the SEC, coached in the NFL, obviously with a storied organization, and now as a head coach again in the Big Ten at Illinois. So, tremendous respect for him and the university as a whole. You're talking about a team that returned 17 starters, 6 on offense, 8 on defense, 3 on specialists, and then also I think one of the oldest teams in college football. I think they have 22 super seniors, which is the highest in the nation. And obviously there's some advantages and strengths that come with that. When you talk about offensively, Tony Peterson and his background obviously came from Appalachian State. Everybody's got a ton of respect for what they have done at Appalachian State for a long time. Everybody was a little bit, I think, surprised when Brett kind of went out of his normal mode in terms of offensive coordinators and their background and how they are stylistically. Tony's got a tremendous amount of experience, has been coordinating for a very, very long time. We've been impressed on offense with Chase Brown, running back, number 2. Number 1, wide receiver, Isaiah Williams. Obviously he can do a lot of different things for him, both as a wide receiver / running back / quarterback, obviously. And then I've been really impressed with the freshman, number 0, Josh Mccrary, the big back out of Alabama. I've been impressed with him. Defensively, Ryan Walters. Obviously, this is Brett's background as well defensively. But Ryan Walters, you look at his background and his experience being at Missouri as the defensive coordinator before coming to Illinois. We've been impressed with defensive tackle number 96, Roderick Perry, DN number 99, Owen Carney, linebacker number 35, Jake Hansen. Seems like he's been playing there forever. And then linebacker number 33, Isaiah Gray, are guys that have jumped out on film. And then they have an experienced special teams coordinator in Ben Miller, who came from the Air Force Academy, been their special teams coordinator for a long time. So we've gone back and researched all their film as well. Been impressed with their kicker number 17, James McCourt, their punter number 14, Blake Hayes, and then their returner, punt returner as well as kickoff returner, Donnie Navarro, really flashes on tape. So tremendous opportunity. Look forward to being here in Beaver Stadium. Look forward to homecoming. Look forward to generations of greatness. I know our players and from what I see, the fan base really enjoys these throwback uniforms that we do as well. So looking forward to all that. Oh, open up the questions.
Mike Gross, LNP News. Mark Brennan, you're next.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm good, thanks. How have you divided up the reps among the quarterbacks last week, and how are you planning on doing it this week?
Yeah, so we are going to split the reps between Taekwon and Vayu. We'll split the reps. And like I think someone asked me that question the other day about, will it be a competition? I think it's always a competition, but it's probably magnified a little bit. We've looking at those guys very closely in practice and the scrimmage periods and things like that. So we will split those reps between those two evenly, and make it a competition.
Mark Brennan's Lions 247 with Fight on State, and then Greg Pickle.
Hey, James, thanks for your time today.
You as well. Did you get a haircut?
I did.
Looks nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Hey,
I envy those days.
Hey, is there any update you can give us on Sean's availability to practice or play in games? And then when it comes to making a decision on who your starter is, at what point do you have to make that? Not necessarily announce it to us, but make it within the team. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. I respect and understand you got to ask the question. I hope you respect and understand that I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail on a Tuesday. With that, I haven't even, talked to, the players about that yet. Haven't talked to my team about that yet. We haven't really even had a full speed practice to do that. But obviously no different than any other situation. You'd like to make the decision as early as you can. We're not in position to do that right now. So those reps will be divided evenly, and once we know that it's clear, then we'll make the decision and go from there. So I know you got to ask the question. I know I didn't give you a whole lot of information there, but it's hard to say that on a Tuesday, where we're at when we really haven't even had a full speed practice yet.
Greg Pickle, Blue White Illustrated, then Audrey Snyder.
Good afternoon, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. In terms of pros and cons of splitting the reps, what are those, especially with two guys who, unlike maybe in past years with your backup quarterback situation, haven't played as many game reps as some of the guys you've had before?
Yeah, I think obviously, the reps in general are gold, right? So, I have worked with a coordinator in the past where he's going to pretty much give all the reps to the starter and no reps to the backups. And the whole reason is, every rep is critical to get them ready to play on Saturday. But I think there's always got to be a developmental aspect. So we've always, in spring ball and in summer camp, given reps to all three quarterbacks in the top three spots on your depth chart. And then once the season starts, it's the emphasis obviously on your first two. So yeah, I think right now, we're even just based on where we're at with those two guys. But I think whenever you can obviously decide who your starter is and then be able to slant a few more reps to your starters compared to your backups. And that's not just a quarterback, that's at every position, right? That chemistry, that cohesion of the group is really important. So, that's what you'd like to do. But right now, I think our plan is to split it pretty evenly.
Audrey Snyder, The Athletic, then Elton Hayes.
Hey, James, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You said at the end of camp that it was obvious that Taekwon was the number two. I guess what has Christian done here in the last month and a half to kind of get in that conversation to split those reps?
Well, I think, what's good about spring ball and what's good about, summer camp is you kind of have all the practices to look at. And then by day, you look at the numbers. Right? Your gut tells you one thing, and then do the numbers back it up. And not only by day, but then being able to take cumulative reps and look at that. But there's also growth that you're looking for. A player that's been in the program for a couple of years should really be widening that gap, and a player that's been in the program less amount of time, he's got to close that gap as much as he can, but you also have to factor in the number of reps that they've been able to get in practice and the number of reps that they've been able to hopefully get in games. So it's not oranges to oranges. It's not even. But that also makes the argument, if it's close, it really shouldn't be, right? The guy that's been in the program for a long time and the guy that's getting the most reps should be able to, should be able to widen that gap. And right now it's somewhat close. So I got a meeting with both of those guys today and kind of challenge both of them and let them know that we're going to be evaluating everything. And the good thing is both of them I'm very impressed with as young men and as competitors and as football players. And this won't be any new information to them, but I still think it's important for me to sit down and talk to them face to face and go through some of the stuff with them.
Elton Hayes, CNHI Pennsylvania, then Dennis Dodd.
Hey, James.
How you doing, man?
Hey, I wanted to, with PJ being out for this year, I know you mentioned last week, Devon and Keziah having a little work to do to step up to fill that absence. How were they last week? I know it was an idle week, but how were they in kind of catching on to things and getting up to speed?
Yeah, they've been good, and we've also amped up, the opportunities and the reps for Amin Vanover and talked to him about putting some weight on for the last couple of weeks. He's done a good job of that. So Jordan Vandenberg's another guy that we've been, amping up their reps and opportunities and meeting times as well. So it's all of it. I think Devon's taken some really good strides from the beginning of the year, and so has Keziah, and we need them to. We need them to. So, it's all about consistency. I think, Elton, you guys have heard me say that before. All these guys have the talent and the ability to do it. But there's a difference between doing it, 3 out of 10 plays compared to 8 or 9 out of 10 plays. And that's the expectation and standard that we need. We need to be 8, 9, 10 out of 10. In terms of their technique, their fundamentals, and their assignment. So they're trending in the right direction.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, and then Ben Jones.
Hey, James, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but could you just speak to the distasteful nature of, now fans booing players who go down just on general principle? I'm not speaking about anything specific, but that's just something I've noticed on injuries.
Yeah, again, I appreciate and respect the question, but that seems like a discussion that we had a month ago. Yep. It seems like something that it feels like a month ago. We've moved on. Points have been made about it in detail. I probably gave my longest answer of my career at a press conference about that. So I've gotten it off my chest very clearly. If you don't have the audio for that or the video, we can send it to you, but I've made my points very, very clearly on that. And they've been discussed, in great detail. So I'd like to, move on to Illinois and focus on that. Again, I think I've been pretty clear on my points on that.
I've got it. Thank you.
Ben Jones, statecollege.com, then Rich Scarcella.
Hey, James, how's it going?
Good, Ben. How are you, man?
No complaints. In the transfer portal day and age, having a good backup quarterback probably means you have someone else's starting quarterback. How does that influence roster management, recruitment, development, and especially when you look back at the last two guys that you've had that were probably set to be in a different position than you envisioned them? How do you kind of manage all of those things these days?
Yeah, and it's tricky, right? Because it impacts so many things, which I think is your point, Ben. I've had 2 guys in our program, that we've had very clear discussions about how things were going to play out and how they were going to be evaluated. And then, when you're looking at going into the transfer portal and possibly bringing guys in, most guys want to come in and be guaranteed the starting job, depending on where they're at and their careers and why they're leaving. So you're talking about, where your program is, what your situation is. Did your starter just graduate? Makes it a very attractive, transfer portal designation. Do you have a returning starter that they're going to compete with? And then also the impact on your current roster as well as the impact on recruiting. So you kind of got to balance all of that and make sure that you're in a good situation and trying to be as upfront as you possibly can and transparent, so everybody has all the information that they could make really good decisions with. So for us, that's the challenge, right? How to balance all of that and do what's right for Penn State, but also do what's right and be fair to these young men. So it's a different situation. It really is. It is a different situation, and I'm not in the business, whether it's high school recruits or transfers. I'm not in the business of making promises. I think that's recruiting talk. When you tell, we had a player at another position that we would have loved to get at another position, not at the quarterback position, that wanted to be guaranteed they were going to be the starter. And I just don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. It's like, recruiting a kid out of high school and tell him he's going to play as a true freshman. I don't think that's the right thing to do for your program. I don't think it's the right thing to do for the kid. It's setting up unrealistic expectations. And what happens if they get here and they're not ready, but you've already kind of made that decision and already made that promise. So we try to under-promise, over-deliver as much as we possibly can. It probably goes against kind of some people's recruiting models, but I'd rather be upfront and transparent about it in terms of playing time and things like that than the opposite. So we'll continue to be aggressive, and use the rules as they currently are built to put Penn State in the best position we possibly can.
Rich Scarcella, Reading Eagle, and then Corey Geiger.
Hi, James. How are you?
Good, Rich. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. James, a few days ago, your name was linked to another high-profile job, LSU. And I was just wondering, do you ever get tired of addressing these kind of reports, especially internally?
Yeah, so again, I appreciate you asking, Rich, and I've kind of already covered this. I know you're going at it from a different angle, but yes, you do. For me, I'm very, I guess the best way to describe it is I care what people think, and I want to handle things the right way all the time, with the players, with the staff, with the administration. I want to use the golden rule, right, and treat people the way you'd want to be treated. So yeah, I want to come to work every single day and do my job and help these players achieve their dreams, and the staff and do right by the university and the community. So yeah, I do. I did see Sandy's comments, and I do think, it's a positive, Rich, from the standpoint there could be a different conversation going on. And if there had to be a choice between two, I'd rather it be this conversation than the opposite. But yeah, I do.
Sorry about that. Corey Geiger, DK Pittsburgh Sports, then Neil Rudell.
Good afternoon, James. On Ben's question, you mentioned we'll continue to be aggressive and you use the rules as they currently are in the portal. Looking back on it over the offseason, were you as aggressive as you possibly could be with quarterbacks in the portal, or do you have any regrets over maybe not being more aggressive at all?
Yeah, I don't see how we could have been more aggressive. We were thorough, and we evaluated every single guy that was out there. We had some guys come in and actually work out by the rules. And I think you guys heard me say a year ago that we were committed to doing it if we found the right situation and it made sense. But just to sign a guy, we actually think that would have been detrimental. There's no way to get them all reps and to develop them. So, so for us, we did everything we possibly could. But again, that goes back to my point a little bit before. Based on your current situation and what your quarterback roster and seniority looks like, puts you in a different situation, and that's going to be year to year. That will change year to year. So whether it is a wide receiver or a quarterback or a defensive lineman, we're going to be thorough. I think we've shown the guys that we've brought in here have all done a nice job for us and been really good fits for Penn State, and are playing pretty well for us right now. So I think our process is good and it's thorough. But obviously, looking back at it, I understand the question.
Neil Rudell, Altoona Mirror, and then Joe Giuliano.
It hasn't clicked over. Still on Corey.
Yeah. All right, we will come back to you, Neil. We'll go to Joe Giuliano.
Neil, I don't think your audio's working. It's unmuted, but we can't hear you, so we're gonna move on. Sorry.
Hello, James.
How we doing?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
Good.
PJ Mustafer, I'm wondering if he's gone before the team at all, either at practice or in meetings, and still participating in everything. And I'm just wondering how his teammates still like having him around.
Yeah, I think, Joe, you've gotten to know PJ pretty well over the last couple of years. He is just a tremendous young man. I've been actually asking a lot of people. Me and my wife were talking about this last night. Talking about this, with the coaching staff. He's handling it extremely well, like he does everything. But sometimes, Joe, when guys are handling things too well, that concerns me too. I kind of try to give him a big hug every single day and check on him and ask him how he is and tell him, if he needs anything, that we're here. My daughter Shola, made him some cupcakes the other day, just trying to love on him and support him as much as we possibly can. But he's been at everything. He's right now he's on one of those, it's kind of like what you see the people in the mall kind of whip around on them, kind of little go-karts or whatever the heck they're called. He's whipping around at practice. He's at the meetings. He's at everything. I just saw him in the training room. He was on the bike. And looked great, and huge smile on his face. So we keep checking on him and making sure he's doing well. And I hope he understands and feels, comfortable enough to be totally honest with me and transparent and vulnerable. That if he is struggling, that we're all here to support him. And then I think the other thing is hopefully being able to get him in a position to get him fixed up, and then on the road to recovery as soon as we possibly can. So all those things are moving. We talk about it every single morning in our staff meeting, kind of go through our injury report and things like that. So everything seems to be going in the right direction. I always make sure that the parents are informed and involved in the process, and they seem to be as well. So, just continue to support him, and his leadership has still been extremely strong on our team as I expect it would be.
Frank Bodani, York Daily Record, and then we'll go to Daniel Gallen.
Hey, good afternoon, James.
Hey, Frank.
What can you share on Sean's progress to getting back to the field, and what stands out to you, how he's handling the situation? As a team leader or captain, I think.
Yeah. So, he's as you know with Sean, he has shown his toughness over the years, both physically and mentally. I literally just walked, coming over here to the press conference and saw him in the facility. He kind of lives in there watching film and obviously now getting treatment and doing everything he possibly can to put him in the best position to get back as soon as possible, whenever that may be. So we'll see, but it won't be because of a lack of effort on his part. He's going to do everything that he's supposed to do, from the doctors and the trainers and their recommendations. Make sure that the parents are informed and involved in the process as well. And then, as I've told you guys before, mentally, in terms of preparation and how he approaches the game, as good as I've been around. So, he's doing all the right things. Not surprised by that. And hopefully that will, put him in the best position to come back as soon as possible.
So we have Neil Rudell's question. He texted it to me. Can you
Neil, so tech savvy.
Can you assess Taquan's cadence and line of scrimmage management and whether he's improved since Iowa?
Yeah, we've been working on it. I've been informed that's been a conversation in town. It's really no different than what we've been doing for my 8 years since we've been here. But yeah, I think obviously Taquan has been able to get more reps with the ones and more reps with Mike Miranda, and it's been good. But again, like I said before, our operation has been pretty consistent for my 8 years and had not had an issue back to my time as an offensive coordinator at West Virginia. But either way, it showed up and it was a problem. But we're working on it every single day, and Taquan's reps with the ones in practice with Mike Miranda, I think, has also been helpful. And then I think a thing I've said to you guys before is, we have a decibel counter on the sideline, a mic, to monitor all of these in each stadium of what they are, and then make sure that our practice decibels are louder than what they get in the stadium. And we've been in a pretty good position there. So, we'll continue to get our guys prepared to handle challenging situations like that, and it won't be the last one.
Daniel Gallen, Penn Live, and then we'll go to Ali Berube.
Hey, Daniel.
James, how are you today?
Good, man.
Good. With losing PJ Mustipher, obviously from a physical standpoint, he was a big presence in there. From an intangible standpoint, what kind of changes with the defense without that leadership down there? What does this team lose beyond what he was just doing on the field?
Well, hopefully we don't lose the leadership in every aspect, but on the field on game day. I mean, obviously that's impossible to replicate out there on the field, because he did have such a presence. But in terms of at practice, in the meeting rooms, and those types of things, I expect and hope that will continue. And then I think it's a great opportunity for other guys to step up. And good thing on defense is we do have a lot of veteran leaders. Jesse's played a lot of football for us. Ellis has played a lot of football for us. Brisker and Castro have played a lot of football for us. Even AK, although, he's a new guy to our program, he's now played a lot of football for us. And I think he really has got a good understanding of our culture and our standards and our expectation. And there's other guys too, but there's a group of guys that are veteran guys that have played a lot of football for us. Brandon Smith is starting to work into those type of roles. Tig is starting to, Joey Porter, I can go on and on and on. But obviously, two things. Those guys have need to bring a little bit more of that to the table. And then we need other guys that maybe weren't, providing that type of role on the team to take a little bit as well. It's not going to be one guy that's going to replace him. We need, 5 or 6% to Jesse, 10% to Ellis, so on and so forth, to make up for what we've lost with PJ on the field. And then all the other areas, I expect PJ still to be totally, invested and supportive, which I've seen. He's been phenomenal.
Ali Berube, ABC 27, then Nate Bauer.
Hey, Ali.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I fully anticipate you're not watching a ton of NFL football on Sundays like the rest of us, but both Michael Parsons and Odafe Owe are in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm curious what that says about the strength of, your defensive staff and the players that you've been able to churn out in the last few years, and if you see the potential for that trend to continue to have some pretty impressive defensive NFL players coming out of Penn State.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? That's part of it for us as well. We want these guys to have an unbelievable academic experience while they're here at Penn State. We want them to have a great athletic experience and achieve all their goals and dreams here at Penn State. Both collectively and individually as a team, and as individuals. And then we want to put them in a position to go to the next level and continue to thrive and even sometimes take the next step. So to see guys that get there, and not only are they physically prepared to do it, but they're also mentally and emotionally prepared to do it. They know what to expect. Micah is actually here right now. He's here in State College. Micah obviously has really grown to love Happy Valley and State College. He's here all the time. He's got great friends. I think you guys know him and Jesse are like best friends. Odafe's doing unbelievable, and I'm so proud. All the things that we pounded the table of all the GMs and scouts about him, and how we just felt like his best football was ahead of him, to see those guys thriving, and other guys. One of the things that's been really cool is these jerseys. I've been getting jerseys from all these guys. They've been sending them back, which is great. I got one from Will Fries yesterday. Micah, I got his. I'm still waiting on Odafe. So if anybody talks to Jason Odafe, I'm still waiting on that one. But I'm just super proud of him, and we want to, have the highest graduation rates in the country. We want to, win every game we possibly can here at Penn State, and put a team on the field that our fans and alumni and lettermen can be really proud of. And then we want to have as many guys in the NFL as any other program in the United States. And we want our guys to go there and be successful, both on the field but off. All the discussions that we've had about, making really sound, solid financial decisions so that our guys can maximize that experience and set themselves and their families up for a lifetime of success. We've had a lot of conversations about how to handle those situations so that our guys may hopefully avoid some of the problems that other athletes and football players have had. So it's really cool, and they're two tremendous examples, but there's many others as well. Blake Gillikin, I talked to his dad yesterday. His parents are coming to the game this weekend. Dad called me. I think he's fourth in the NFL right now in punting. So all these stories and all these examples, I'm super proud of it. I'm also proud of the relationships, with the families. Like I said, like the Gillikins coming up to the game this weekend. So it's pretty cool.
Nate Bauer, Blue 8 Illustrated, then Bob Flounders.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I guess I'm thinking specifically of PJ, but maybe for other guys too. Do roster management questions arise during the course of the season as to a guy deciding to come back for a year beyond what's expected based on a situation like that?
Yeah, great question. That's another thing that we did last week. So we've been getting evaluations on guys, feedback, what they're doing well, what they need to do better. Obviously, we have that internally in our self-scout, but I'm talking about outside with scouts and GMs, and that was part of our meetings last week with our current roster of guys that, are in their juniors and senior years, things like that. There's a fine line of it, right? The feedback is important, but the real decisions and the real conversations are going to happen, probably towards the end of the season. But I'm also a little aware and concerned. Once we change this rule at the NCAA level, and really more specifically at the NFL Players Association level, in terms of when agents can talk to players, and we changed that rule that the agents can talk to them their freshman year. If we're not talking to them from one perspective and they're only hearing it from an agent's perspective, then I think that can lead to some bad decisions. Not that agents, are bad people and trying to convince every single player to come out early. I don't mean that, but there's different perspectives, right? And I want our players to have every perspective to think about so they can make the best decisions for them and their families. And there's been examples of that we've had at Penn State, right, of guys that have stayed and it's worked out really well. We've had some guys that have left early and it's worked out really well. We've had some guys that probably, if they would do it all over again, would have come back. And I just want to make sure that your parents and the young men have all that information so they can make the best decisions. And then, what can we do to support them throughout that? So I think PJ's a really good example. We did have that meeting last week, but I'm hoping to sit down with him again one-on-one because obviously the scenario has changed a little bit, and see where him and his parents are at. And at the end of the day, once decisions are made, then we're going to support them every way we possibly can, just like we did with Odafe. So yeah, I think that's a good question. It's always a challenge because most coaches and people don't want to have those type of conversations during the season because you want to stay laser focused on the task at hand. But once again, if you're not talking to them and other people are, then you're probably being naive.
We have time for 2 more questions. Bob Flounders, Penn Live, and then we'll wrap it up with John Petishnock.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bob?
I'm good, James. I wanted to ask you about Curtis Jacobs' development during the first half of the season. I thought he was very disruptive in that Iowa game. Do you see him kind of playing faster and things kind of – it just looks like he's starting to really figure things out?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment. Me and Coach Pryor were just talking about this. He's always had the athleticism and the skills, really obviously all the way back to the recruiting process, his ability to impact the game in high school on offense and defense. But to transition to a full-time linebacker at this level, was an adjustment. So, he's gaining more and more confidence. I think he's getting more and more comfortable of how he fits into the defense and what plays that he needs to make, what plays he should make. I think your point is a great one. Me and Brent have been talking a lot about his growth, not only from last year, but really over the last couple of weeks. And I think you'll see that him continue to trend. And I think Brent's done a really good job of this. If you look at, his career, all the way back to Mike Hull, we made some changes with Mike Hull and where we were playing him and his production skyrocketed. And then we've kind of had some guys that have come in like Curtis and played as true freshmen and then, took on a starting role the next year and, kind of went from there. And then, the transition from playing to the field into the box like Brandon Smith has been able to do. I think Ellis is playing as good as any middle linebacker in the country right now, extremely productive. So I think Brent's got, a really good track record of developing the position. And I think Curtis is a really good example of that right now. I think sometimes people would like it to go faster, but it doesn't really work like that. It happens when it's supposed to happen. And I think Brent's track record of doing it is as good as anywhere in the country.
John Petishnock, Football Letter.
Hey, good afternoon, James. Appreciate your time today.
You as well, John.
Hey, a few weeks ago, you mentioned how the energy of the fans helped when you had 4 straight home games. You also said you felt the energy was good for the community. Obviously, a big week planned this week for homecoming. I just wanted to ask, what's your perspective on what it means to have fans back at Beaver Stadium and what it means to the State College area, not just economically, but just from a general morale standpoint?
Yeah, obviously I'm the biased football coach, right? But I do think it all matters. I know they impact us in a positive way. Whether it is on Saturday afternoons in Beaver Stadium, whether it is the tailgating and driving the buses to the stadium, whether it is having recruiting trips downtown where we're bringing people in on official visits and people are just excited and you can feel the energy and the buzz in the town. Maybe it's when I'm going on my afternoon walk and I'm tired and ready to turn back and somebody kind of gives me a shout and gives me a little bit of energy to finish my walk with the tempo I want it to be. And then it's obviously the other way, right? It's the impact on the bars and the restaurants and the hotels and the economy, and also for the university, right? What an unbelievable opportunity it is to be the front porch of the university and allow millions of people all over the country and really all over the world to get a glimpse of what Penn State is all about. How our guys play on the field, how our guys present themselves in the media, how our guys are successful at the next level. We're all in this thing together, and I think that's one of the things that I think last year helped us all recognize is we can't do it without the community. The community can't do it without us. And I think that's one of the things that makes Happy Valley so special. And I also believe there's still a lot of room left for growth on both fronts. And I think if we continue to support one another and work with one another, then I think the sky's the limit, for our community and for our university as a whole.